supposed to do then? Take it out or something?
What you're supposed to do is to charge it to about halfway,
Yeah.
then take it out, and the battery through with the battery not.
Welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed as we ask the question, what are Zog and Richard talking about today? Are they talking about A, the Toyota Prius, B, the Chevrolet Volt, C, another electric car which has not yet been invented, or D, their favourite subject, Max?
I've just put something that I forgot to tell you before you turn the microphone on that I wanted to mention, talking of batteries.
This is a good time to remember it then.
I drove a Tesla this week.
Did you?
Yeah, admittedly, I drove it around the corner of a building and sort of up a little road, and that was it. Because it was very low on charge. Having been on charge, it was down to saying, the little computer thing was saying it had 1 mile left in it, someone else had driven it. So we managed to find, quite difficult, an outside power point. I was at the BBC offices in White City. Now, what actually happened was that a colleague of mine knows one of the lighting guys who works on BBC's popular One Show, which is filmed in the office below the Top Gear office. And they have a lighting setup outside, and went and nabbed ran a cable off their big lighting thing. But it only had a 3-pin socket. And if you just power it off a 3-pin socket, it takes forever to charge up.
It needs a 3-phase, doesn't it?
It needs a 3-phase,
What you need is a roadie who's got one of those 3-phase cables, and I know where the 3-phase supply is.
Yeah.
So you watch, it'll be people like...
Basically, good for rock stars.
Yeah, it'll be people like me, ex-roadies who'll buy Teslas, won't they?
Oh, man. Well, there's one thing that I just realised that is still... And let me say, first of all, I definitely read stuff about the Tesla. It is uncanny the way you put your foot down, and it just surges forwards, but you have nothing but a sort of faint whine from behind you, not a particularly unpleasant sound.
What's that, someone complaining that your cable's going to run out in a minute? Thank you.
Put one of those bungee ones on like you're supposed to have on kettles if you have kids, but it's weird and freaky. But what's interesting is, first of all, it was parked at the back of our building, and we were trying to plug it in, and lots of people were coming out of the loading bay there and the canteen and stuff to have a look at it and taking pictures and go. Everyone knew that it was an electric car.
Because they knew it was an electric car.
And everyone was like, blokes were going, "Oh, it's really cool for an electric car." This is a definite sort of turning point in the perception of electric cars. But then I was graphically reminded of one of the potential problems with them, which is that you can't just get a big lump of electricity and put it back in again like you can with petrol or diesel or whatever. But even so, my brief drive in it, I thought it felt pretty good, acceleration-wise. Can't tell you what the handling's like, except that it has got a nice tiny little steering wheel, like an Elise, as you'd expect.
Well, it is an Elise in every way, isn't it?
And yeah, it felt good.
Yeah, well, as far as I gather, the only sort of downside is that with it being that much heavier than the Elise, that does compromise the handling a little bit. It's,
I gather. But apparently it makes the ride a bit better. It feels more planted. And an interesting thing that I discovered from the guy who actually drove it and ran the battery down before I could have a go was that the stability control is immediate and very effective because, of course, like a sort of dimmer switch, it can modulate engine power precisely rather than trying to rein in an internal combustion engine.
Yeah, that's always been the case with electric motors, hasn't it? Yeah, fine control.
So if it wants to just reduce power to stop the back end stepping out, it is like a dimmer switch. Just turns. It's brilliant. Anyway, this wasn't what we were going to talk about.
Does
but
it have a stereo?
Yes. It has stereo, it has air conditioning, it has heated seats, it has a lot of electrical devices on it. Yes.
And all that sort of thing. I wonder what effect that has on. But the question is...
It has a little thing that tells you how much power it's using. And the other thing is, of course, it says it's supposed to have a 250-mile range. This one was a prototype and it didn't have that because it had an earlier version of the batteries. But of course, if you're sitting in traffic, it's not actually using any charge at all, really. So
if you buy the Tesla, they will give you a battery upgrade. That's the deal at the moment, I think. If you buy them, there's part of the package that you are on the list for a battery upgrade when the new technology comes in. But the question
like we were just talking about, in fact, with my
with
Mac
your
Power
Mac,
Truck.
exactly, yeah.
But here's the thing: I have this terrible battery paranoia. I am the worst person with batteries. I get very antsy when I see a low battery thing and I think I'm not being able to charge something up. I hate charging things up when they're sort of only halfway run down. I get very paranoid. Yeah. I drive people nuts with that. Or when I've got something on charge and someone goes, actually, I need to charge my phone. Can I just unplug that? And I'm always going, no! It's not done yet! But imagine if I had an electric car, I think I would be constantly stressed about the condition of my battery.
But it's less of an issue these days. When we used to have nickel-cadmium batteries, NiCads, that was a big problem. Battery memory, where batteries would retain a certain amount of charge, and therefore you couldn't fill them up to the top.
Yeah.
But these days, with the nickel metal hydride and the lithium organic ion, they don't have to discharge before you recharge them. So finally, the technology has arrived to make you happy, and electric cars shouldn't be that big a problem.
Well, the technology is still very clunky. I think when you look at the big picture and when you compare the potential of batteries with the potential of liquid fuel, the commonly available liquid fuels, batteries still suck. They're, in terms of how much energy you can store in a battery, how much energy you can store in 50 pounds of batteries, or a cubic metre of batteries, or
doesn't compare to fuel.
However you want to chop it up, and whatever kind of batteries you want to use, batteries still look very, very bad compared to. I say very bad. The energy density, the amount of energy that you can carry around in a battery compared to a fuel tank that carries liquid fuel, is very poor. Nothing,
in the words of Prince, compares to fuel. And on that subject, if the Tesla, it doesn't have power steering, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So if you're low on battery, it's not electrically driven, that shouldn't be a problem trying to get into a parking space.
Driving in a circle just because the batteries are on.
And the lights don't go dimmer when the battery power's down because they manage the flow. But you can still listen to the stereo. So if you were listening to classical music and you were trying to park, you'd be doing sort of orchestral manoeuvres in the dark. Listening to which song of theirs, which song of theirs, which song?
Sorry, Tesla Girls, obviously.
Tesla Girls, thank you very much. Good night.
Take that.
Meanwhile, at a party in the not-too-distant future...
Louise, hi! Glad you can make it! Come through, meet everyone, they're all here.
Before I do, I don't suppose you've got a charger for a Tesla?
Oh, gosh, I haven't, sorry. We've both got G-Whizzes. Hey, everyone, this is Louise. She's wondering if anyone's got a charger for a Tesla.
Sorry, I've got a Fisker.
I came on a bike.
I've got some petrol.
Oh my God.
How selfish.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to burn petrol, can you please do it outside? Go.
Sniff Petrol with Gareth Jones on speed!
I was hoping, though, that the Tesla, because what it does when it gets 20 miles or left on it is it goes into power save mode, so you don't get full performance. But I was curious to know as whether it was like one of those old Walkmans from the 80s where it got to a point where everything went down to a point. Apparently not.
Well, he's been playing with their exciting new electric car. Now, by odd coincidence, I built one of the electric motors in the 944 today. Just long story short, to get the wash pump working again. The troubleshooting, it turned it was the electric motor.
How old is your car now, Zog?
Okay, well, this thing, it is a 21-year-old car, and I was quite pleased with the fact that this 21-year-old electric motor, which turned out to have just had a lot of corroded bits bumping around inside it that weren't working anymore, and once I'd managed to get it apart, clean it up, improvise a little fix with a bit of an old tin can, it's working again. And so I was quite pleased with that. But here's the thing I really want to tell you, because the same week that the 944 passed a very, very significant mileage.
It hasn't done over 80 miles, has it, Zog? No, really? Okay.
The other day, I saw on the odometer for the first time 186,282 miles.
186,282. That's most of the way to the moon, but not all the way to the moon.
You can do better. You do know this.
Is this...
school science.
Is that the distance?
Physical quantities, basic properties.
Is that the distance that the Earth travels in a year?
No, but think something else in a different period.
Something else in a different period. Is it the distance your Porsche has travelled in 21 years?
It is, yeah. And I'm still lobbying all the major scientific institutions to have this.
To have that used as a yardstick of some sort. Yeah,
yeah.
Is it the total number of penalties handed out to teams that aren't Ferrari in F1 this season?
Oh, very good.
Close.
Say close, you mean shut up. No.
No, I mean, I like it, but it just happens not to be right.
It's good, but it's not right.
186,000 miles.
Speed of light.
186,000 miles. Yeah, but you didn't do it in a second, did you?
Exactly. This thing, I was thinking that was a fairly fast car until I did this comparison. I realised the distance travelled by that car in 21 years, light will do in 1 second.
Well done, Light.
1 second.
Good.
Yeah. So,
good Light.
Yeah,
you want to get fast,
but you
forget cars.
But you couldn't drive to Le Mans in Light, could you?
No, you couldn't. It wouldn't
You
be
couldn't
anything like
impress your
that
mates.
fun.
No.
You couldn't crash into the back of another car in Light or have someone crash into the back of you, could you?
No. You couldn't poach salmon underneath the hood as you're driving along the way, wrapped up in a little sort of foil parcel, nestled next to the exhaust.
You couldn't make a bit of music for a very early episode of Gareth Jones on Speed with Light.
You couldn't stand on the passenger seat of Light with your head poking out through the capacious sunroof, operating a camera to film the London Grand Prix, our first video podcast.
However, in fairness, when you get up to go for a wee in the middle of the night, it would be useless to turn on your Porsche to see where you were going.
It would, unless it was in the bedroom with me, which
it often is.
If only.
Morning, Mr. Mayor. Are you okay?
I'm glad you asked me that, Jennifer. You see, actually, I am not okay. This city seems to be running extremely well. Traffic moves freely. Our cycle lanes are well used. The population seems happy and relaxed. What on earth am I to do?
I don't understand, Mr. Mayor.
How am I to ruin this peaceful and well-managed city in such a way as to inconvenience and irritate anyone who wishes to use its streets?
Worry no more. If you're in charge of a major conurbation, there's now a simple way to bring chaos and inconvenience to its streets forevermore. The Bendy Bus. Yes, the Bendy Bus. It's the slow and badly thought out way to make your historic and harmonious city into a living nightmare for anyone who wishes to use its roads. Just imagine the impotent rage on the faces of your inhabitants who, let's face it, are the people who pay your wages through their taxes, as they realise you've rolled back the natural space-efficient progress of mankind's urban evolution with an expensive and destructive waste of time and money that blocks traffic, mows down cyclists, and will make your town or city into an international laughingstock. Start injuring and inconveniencing your citizens with the Bendy Bus today.
Well, Jennifer, that unexpected voiceover has certainly solved my problem.
You've gone mad.
I don't think I have, Jennifer. Weasel cheese.
Yes, Bendy Buses. The worst idea in the entire ruddy world.
I must order some today. Jennifer?
Please stop calling me Jennifer.
Gareth Jones on Speed! Man is a lorry!
Doing an R Cars update. Is this what this has turned into?
It has now.
Because I remembered something that I forgot to tell you.
Go on.
Again, which was I had some new exhaust put on my VXR8, and now I'm regretting not bringing it along this evening so I could play them to you, in a sense. Even though it's night and your neighbours probably wouldn't like it so much, it rumbles quite a bit more now. And this is my favourite bit, and it's the bit that almost caused me to run over a pedestrian the other day. Sorry, whoever you were. If you accelerate a little bit and then lift off, it goes boom, bum, 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 and pops a lot. and I've been enjoying this for the past week or so since I have it done. And I was driving through a part of London the other day.
Yes, lift the throttle at light.
Well, I got onto this straight bit of road, but it was dark, and I just accelerated, and then this guy. I mean, in fairness, he did just step out into the road. However, if I hadn't just accelerated with the intention of then lifting off. So I did lift off and it popped nicely, but I also had to apply the brakes a little bit, which I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't depressed the accelerator firmly to hear it go pum, 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 pum. It's great.
It sounds fantastic.
I complained about it.
No, I tell you what, it's quite subtle. It's not moronic. I wish I had brought it here so we could hear it, and also compare and contrast to when we recorded it before. It is very subtle. It's so subtle that it's not an irritant in everyday life, but it does actually add an extra layer of joy to it, because it's just that slight sort of naughtiness that not as naughty as. Sorry, there's something else I remembered that I forgot to tell you, which is last weekend I went and drove some really really lovely cars up a French mountain because I went on Evo's Car of the Year story, which I can't say too much about because it's not being published yet. But I drove some really, really nice cars, including, I can tell you, a couple of Italian cars that made so much noise they cannot be legal. They're extraordinary. I thought, I got out my Vauxhall, left my Vauxhall at the airport, and I was sort of looked back at it and went, my snotty popping beauty. Got on the plane, arrived in France, got into these two Italian cars, and I got out again and went, I feel a bit sort of reserved now with my Vauxhall.
So are they maybe doing this sort of, I believe some manufacturers of loud cars use of sort of clever things in the exhaust, so that when you basically do a slow drive-by, the volume is low and you will therefore pass an EU sort of drive-by test. But if you're actually giving a bit of welly...
I think that's what it is. There may be valvery, but at the same time they make that noise at low speed, and I thought, well, maybe they're making it all inside the car, but then I followed them in other cars, and you can, you can hear it. And it's amazing. Those drive-by tests... Yeah. Various EU legislation approved places that you can do that. You can do them at Myra or somewhere in the UK. But a lot of car companies prefer to go down to a test track in Spain. Because
where the equipment doesn't work properly.
Yes, exactly. It's got dust and donkey poo in it. No, it's because it's quite hot and humid down there more of the year, and apparently the air is more dense, and therefore the sound travels marginally more slowly through it, or something.
Help
me out here, Zog, or is it hotter and drier?
Colder air will be more dense, and the more dense that liquid medium is, other things being equal, a wave will propagate more quickly through it.
So it's less dense. The air is sort of thin and dense.
The hotter air is less dense, and therefore the speed sound will travel more slowly through it.
The speed of sound at sea level is higher than it is higher up in the atmosphere.
That might be the other thing. I think this test track is quite high up.
Was it 633 miles per hour at sea level?
There or thereabouts.
In Northern Europe.
330 metres per second.
Yeah, and it's quite a bit lower if you get up there when it's a bit thinner.
Now, my theory about the Italians, we're sciencing out today. My theory about the Italian cars... Sorry, Gareth, I'll come to you in a minute. It'll sound like bloody question time. But my final thing about these Italian cars that make an awful lot of noise, and all of them seem to do this, in my experience, and there were a lot of question marks. Ferrari particularly, how on earth are they getting through these noise regs? Remember Jaguar, I think it was, saying that one of their cars, when I think it was the original supercharged XJ, when they did the drive-by noise, it failed, and they were working out that a lot of the noise was actually coming from the tyres, and they found out it was the original proposed tyres. It was breaking the noise limit, going past at the prescribed speed with the engine off, because the toys had so much noise. Wow. My theory with the Italians is what they do is they build a massive version of the car they're trying to homologate, and then drive it past further away. So using the power of perspective, they deceive the authorities.
I like this theory. Brilliant.
Well, Vauxhall, you parked it in, a long-term car park, a short-term car park before you went?
I took it halfway and I parked it in a mid-term car park.
A mid-term car
Where's this come from? You notice now, airports, mid-term. I had to look up on the website to define their terms. What's short-term, what's mid-term, what's long-term. I was away for 3 days, so mid-term it is.
Sorry, that's short to mid-term, in my opinion. There's a new fifth car park.
North-easterly term. I don't understand.
Parametric parking, Zog. That's what we want.
This is chopping up too much. Like you say. Short term, you're dropping somebody off.
Yeah.
Long term, you're going on holiday.
Yeah. You overnight. Yeah. So this is what we've been driving, or how are you getting on with our cars update. I've got a problem with my Soarer at the moment, which relates to long-term parking. Mm-hmm. She had a harp sound effect. Hang on, I've got one.
Can have one.
Right, here we go. Years and years ago, I went on holiday to Egypt. Spent Christmas in Egypt. Nice and cheap, nice and warm. Took the kids. Lovely. Yeah. Great. Did this package where I stayed in a hotel near Luton, I think, the night before.
Mm-hmm. I was like, Luton's not in Egypt.
And it came with parking. The hotel says, there's the parking. We shuttle you to the airport in the morning, right? Just go and park through that. And went through this gap in the hedge, and there was a gravel car park. Choose me car park space, park the car. Brilliant. Went off, went on holiday, came back about 10 days later to my car, sitting in a puddle about, I'd say, just less than a foot deep. Probably 10 inches deep.
So brakes nicely submerged then.
And so the problem I'm having to this day is occasionally sticking caliper on one of my brakes, and it's the second time I've had one replaced. I've had it opened and freed up and then ultimately replaced, and now the other one's going, and it's all from sitting in water for I don't know how long while we were away. So let this be a warning to you, sensible Gareth Jones on Speed listeners. When you park your car, make sure you're on a mound, not in a dip, because you will have very expensive brake problems. So that's my sensible word.
Yeah, and brake problems are just about the last kind of problem.
The screeching, the smell, badness, makes you sad.
Actually, I left my car at Luton Airport long-term parking when I went on holiday last month, and they've moved the long-term parking. So, as far as I can figure out, Luton Airport long-term parking is now in Leicester. You're on the bloody shuttle bus for about half an hour trying to get... And you only come back off a flight late at night and you just want to get home. You know, it's the final... the holiday's over, so you might as well just get home and put your pants in the wash. And, we're on this bloody shuttle bus. And then, of course, you come out of the car park and then you've got to find your way back, going through this industrial estate. It's awful.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that, unlike you guys, I am completely unfamiliar with the parking at Luton Airport.
Don't bother. I have to wrap this show now, but before we do, a couple of questions. There's a couple of things I want to talk about very briefly. First of all, the Mini Crossman. Is it actually made by Smeg, the people who make the fridge? Have you seen it?
You're thinking it's got a similar kind of sort of
texture,
chunky sort of chunkiness about
There's something white and shiny and silvery, and the way that back door hinges at the moment... It's a fridge, isn't it?
Excuse me.
The very mention of the Mini Crossman has got
on my own bile.
You don't love the Crossman, then?
If only they could fit an ice maker in it, that would be fine.
More power to the But they're making it in Austria, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
So, Oh, and actually, screw them then. I mean, I quite like the Mini, and it's made in Oxford, and that's all. And the people who work there have lots to do, so that's good. But they're making this one in Austria, and I just think it's... I mean, they will. They'll sell a bunch of those cars.
From the factory that brought you the Fiat Panda 4x4. That's what it is, isn't it?
The Steyr Daimler Push. What was that one, the little... 4x4, the
Haflinger.
I was going to say Voigtlander, but they were a German camera maker, I think.
Was it the Haflinger? Oh, no.
Haflinger.
Yeah. I've driven a Haflinger, and what was the other one? No, I've just had it.
They're another camera maker.
Hasselblad, no, I've had my scrotum tucked. No. I've driven a Haflinger, or Pinzgauer is actually, that's what we're thinking. Pinzgauer, I've driven a Pinzgauer practically up a sheer vertical face for a film I made for a kids' programme once. Fascinating. But Violet got to drive a BV206, which is one of those...
I remember,
Snowcat, we would call them.
Oh, okay.
Articulated snowcat. Unbelievable fun. But we've gone off topic. That was my first question. The Mini Crossman, is it actually made by Smeg? Right? No, but it might well be. And the second question is, are the 80s back?
Are we supposed to answer? I don't know. Are they? Are they?
I think they might be.
Something in there.
No, I
don't know what was going on.
I think the 80s might be back.
Yes.
I've seen kids with flock of seagulls hairstyles, practically. I'm going to see myself walking down the street from 20 years ago before.
So I can dig up my old New Romantic Clubber and I'll be day up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. But, right, what's the most chic colour for cars at the moment? New cars?
I would say
blue seems to be quite popular, wouldn't you say?
I'm going to say white. And I'll tell you, we were speaking as we were of my little weekend.
That's an 80s colour.
It is an 80s colour. It's a very 80s colour to match the white flecked suit.
Yeah.
This little ding.
Little Violet Berlin coming in. Hello, Violet Berlin. Hello, you brought us. We're making a podcast. Well, you've been making a cup of tea.
After a fashion.
Carry on.
Okay, thank you very much. White, very 80s colour.
Yes, well, I was talking earlier on about I went to my weekend away with Evo on their Car of the Year thing. We had 7 cars there, and 4 of them were white.
It is. And here's my further evidence of the 80s being back. I mean, I'm talking in terms of cars these days, right? Scirocco.
Well, good point.
It's back.
Yeah.
That's a pretty 80s car. I know it started in the 70s, but it's a pretty 80s car, isn't it? The Golf? Another Golf? It's still the 80s.
That didn't really ever go away, though, did it? So
no, but its heyday was the 80s. Yeah. Everyone wore VW badges, didn't they? I actually took the VW badges off my Jetta. I used to own a Jetta in the 80s to stop people from nicking it. Do you think they'll start doing that again? People start nicking them. They can't. They try to nick nick the badge and the boot will open.
I think that new Golf, the badge also has a reversing camera in it. So when you go to reverse, it goes slightly and opens so that
you get to see the person who's trying to nick the badge.
To nick your badge,
Smart, you see.
Mind you, the Beastie Boys started all that, didn't they? And they're quite old now.
Yeah,
it's quite funny.
They're Beastie old boys.
Zen Buddhism and very.
That was it. Just a thought whether the 80s was actually back. I think it probably is. Yeah. I
wouldn't have any objection.
No, well,
mine's a Quattro. The drink and the car.
Gentlemen, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Is there an 80s way of saying goodbye? How would you say goodbye in the 80s?
Ciao. I think people used to say that a lot, didn't they?
Surely
before they got punched in the face by
probably if they just seen the
Let's just all snap our red braces.
Or I'd say, see you on Get Fresh next week. That's how I'd say goodbye in the 80s. And we'll finish with a bit of 80s music. This is not Robert Smith and The Cure, who were a very 80s band. This is Robin Smith and The Cure. Cure spelled Q-U-E-U... How do you spell cure? Cure as in someone who is a cure.
It's not a
Just
word.
play the track.
This is Goths Don't Drive. See ya.
I'll only drive a car that is black or drab and a dull kind of grey. I don't want any fluorescent paint to brighten up my day. Oh, you usually see us at bus stops in groups of 3, 4 or 5. Our expressions are glum, we miss out on the fun because Goths don't drive. Oh, Goths don't drive. I'll never be seen in a cabriolet. I get no pleasure from open air. Not because they are cheerful or gay. No, give me a tin top any day. Ragtops, man, they give you a tan, and they're crap if you backcomb your hair. Oh, you'll always see us at bus stops in groups of 3, 4 or 5. Our expressions are glum, we miss out on the fun because Goths don't drive. Goths don't drive. I keep my complexion a bluish kind of white. I wear liner on my eyes. I need dark interiors with somber tones, like in the Volkswagen Golf GTI. If I ever go out driving, I have my traffic master turned off. Traffic jams aren't so gloomy if you want to drive, but you're a goth. Oh, Goths don't drive. Goths don't drive. A Volvo estate would be perfect. Coolest car in the universe. All painted black with that extended back. Looking dead good, just like a hearse. You always see us at bus stops in groups of 3, 4 or 5. Our expressions are glum, we miss out on the fun because Goths don't drive. Goths don't drive. We don't care how we arrive. As pedestrians, we're more undead than alive. I hate the new Cinquecento. It looks so happy. I hate that. I hate the happy. Goths Don't Drive. Quite fond of Jaguars. Panthers. Because I love cats. Goths Don't Drive.
You can contact the show on speed at GarethJones.tv or subscribe for free on iTunes. Gareth Jones on Speed was made by Whiz Bang.
Weasel cheese.